This is the Government Operations Committee, and today is Tuesday, May the 2nd. And I do detect a quorum with Council Members sorry about that, Council Member Hancock. Cash, Hancock, Nash, Withers, and Young, and so 6 in attendance in total. And today we have 5 items on our agenda, 3 of which are on consent. So Resolution RS 2023-2130 is on consent, 2023-2131 is on consent, and 2023-1839 is on consent. Anything need to be pulled from consent? All right. RS 2023-2130, Benedict. It exempts Riverside Revival, located at 1600 Riverside Drive, from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit. Item 2 is RS 2023-2131 by O'Connell. That exempts Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery, located at 1414 Clinton Street, from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit. And then bills on, well, we'll go ahead and take those resolutions. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
What's the point of a consent agenda if I start asking questions for you guys? Goodness gracious.
Crazy.
Happy Council Day. All right, moving on to Item 3, Resolution 2023-2141 by O'Connell, Roten, and Withers. This approves the 7th Amendment to the lease agreement between the Metropolitan Government and Square Investment Holdings, LLC, for office space in the Washington Square building located at 222 2nd Avenue North. Can I get a motion? Second?
Second.
All right. I pulled this off consent because we have a real estate study that we've been working on, and so I wanted to, as this is one, we don't see a lot of new spaces come up. This is one that was coming up for renewal that I thought was expensive, and so I wanted to see what other areas. It is downtown, so of course it's going to be expensive. We talked about that in Budget and Finance yesterday. But I wanted to get an update on that real estate portfolio, on when we'll expect to see that, so that then we can begin to take those things into consideration for things like this in case there is another space that we could use that we're already leasing or that we already own. So Ms. Hunter is here and can give us an update on that. Could you please?
Yeah, sure. So, and we've been before you a couple of times. Thank you to talk about the real estate master plan that the firm of Ernst & Young conducted. And they started that last June and have submitted the draft to the steering committee, and Councilmember Hancock is on our steering committee. Thank you. The steering committee is reviewing that. We expect to have all those comments incorporated, and the very lengthy, like 200-page master plan report will be available, should be by July. And that does kind of look at a long-term strategic plan for utilizing Metro resources, accounting for growth in our Metro agencies, and accounting for things like leases that are expiring, and where those agencies will go, and making the best use of Metro real estate. So we'll have a very comprehensive report for you soon.
Thank you for that. And I know Councilmember Hancock, you're on that subcommittee or committee. Do you want to share anything about that as well?
No, I mean, I think since our last update, that was the most comprehensive information that we have. But overall, it's just been a really thorough look into, the real estate across the city, and also, leases that were, and I think this is the impetus for the committee, leases that were about to expire that we needed to prepare for, because we knew that any renewal would be a higher cost. So if we needed to relocate, we used this as the opportunity to do so.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for that additional update. And thank you for the prior update too. That was great. I guess then the only question I have so far along that study, is there any additional space that could fulfill the need that we have with this lease that has been identified yet, or we're going to have to wait till July?
Or is this Washington Square?
That's Washington Square. That's
Washington Square.
Yeah.
No, that lease, it has been determined that extension of that lease is needed.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion?
So, yeah. So what might some of the comments be, other than I'm hearing about leases, but like, is it identifying properties that are not being used, but we could find in our set of goals or purposes that, hey, we should be using this in a better way, or to repair this or, renovate this would be so expensive that maybe that's something that we need to get rid of? Are those some of the kind of comments that'll show up in the report?
Yeah, those are some of the kinds of things. So task one of the study was to look at a couple of kind of emergencies, and those were expiring leases, Clifford Allen building, which Metro had sold, and then also departments that are just outgrowing their existing space, and figuring out how we're going to accommodate those. Also to take into account agencies who are working differently, maybe have some remote work. And so after task one, and we, in that they looked at building new facilities, buying facilities, densifying current Metro facilities, and some of the big recommendations that came out of task one are that general services, my department, and human resources, the finance department, and ITS, because we do all have components of remote work, will densify within the Howard office building, freeing up space for other agencies, growing agencies in spaces where we're currently located. Also creating like a conference center in Lindsley Hall on the Fulton campus, because we desperately need that. When Sunny West conference room is taken up for early voting or for some other meeting, we don't have a lot of good options. So we're very excited about Lindsley Hall, freeing up some of Lindsley Hall to become a conference center through the densification in Howard office buildings. So we did look at all those kinds of things and how people work and how we could better use our facilities.
Thank you for that, and I know it's an excellent study. You guys are doing a great job, and the consultants have been very engaged. I think this was of concern because of the cost to me, and I knew that we were in this. Sounds like I'm premature in that, so I'll be patient.
Well, so when they did study the cost of buying older buildings downtown and renovating them and looking at the utilization there versus maybe building a brand new building downtown that would accommodate those agencies versus leasing spaces for something like 10 years, they did a thorough analysis of that, and it looked like leases was the way to go for a handful of agencies. For example, public defender, they've just got to be walking distance to the courthouse in order to serve the folks they need to serve. And so lease was a better option for them than the other options, than building or buying a building.
Thank you for all of that. Are we ready to vote? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, resolution passes. Bills on second reading, we have BL 2023-1839 by Roten, Welsh, Stiles, and Benedict. This codifies a residential landlord's duty to register with the Department of Codes Administration. I'm sorry, you're exactly right.
Sorry.
No, I actually didn't read it though yet.
Yep.
Sorry. We'll take it off consent. We'll just do a quick vote. This, again, BL 2023-1839 by Roten, Welsh, Stiles, Benedict. It codifies a residential landlord's duty to register with the Department of Codes Administration pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated section 6628-107 and authorizing the Department of Codes Administration to process and collect registration fees, impose and collect fines for noncompliance, and establish an administrative process for appeals of any such fines. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Okay. Any discussion? All right. Oh,
Go ahead, Tom, if you'd like.
So this is just like we do have landlords, and we came up with Councilmember Parker's bill, or I brought up that, hey, it'd be nice if we're sharing the rules about occupancy so that everybody's aware, or at least landlords. Is this the same kind of registration? Like they have a home or an apartment building or whatever, and they're going to rent out to people. So this is just codifying that, hey, you are supposed to register.
I'll take a stab at that. My read is that, yes, it is that. So this is a rule that's already on the books. State law enables it. And my understanding is this is kind of a restating and codifying of that. I'm getting nods from staff. And so as part of that, I had, as it relates to this bill and the shared housing bill that'll be coming up on third reading later tonight, Codes did send over a clarifying page, a clarifying document that they're going to provide to landlords on the registration process, because I think that what we've got in Title 17 with the occupancy limits is going to be pretty plain readable, but the stuff that's in Title 16, some of the square footage and occupancy and kitchens and egress and ingress and all that is a little bit difficult to read, even for someone like me who reads a lot of charts and codes and stuff. So they've got this like one-page explainer, and I had Rosie forward that to everybody. It's in your inbox. That I think going to help folks know what they're signing up to provide here as landlords. Looking at this legislation, when I think about why I think this is a good idea is, when tenants are having issues with like property standards on the inside of the unit more than the outside of the unit, stuff that our codes inspectors don't generally see, at times it's hard to get a hold of the person responsible for the property. So this would not only remind folks that you need to have yourself or some responsible party on file to answer phone calls about this, and then also kind of codify that there's a process for you're going to get hit with $50 a week if you're not registered. And so if we've got tenants calling into code saying, my floor, my subfloor, my kitchen is rotting, we at least will know who to get a hold of to talk with about that. I would, just because we've been kind of going back and forth on a lot of these issues, does anybody from codes have any notes or thoughts about where we are with the bills that are all floating around, or this one specifically, or just any updates?
I'd like to just stick with this bill if we could.
That's fine, Chair. But from code staff, is there any?
Okay, thank you.
I have like two questions, and that was, Councilman Parker, that was awesome in terms of like I am thankful for this bill, because I think it'll do exactly what you're talking about. Two questions. Number one, are we collecting we will collect a phone number, not just an address?
Yes.
Do you think? Cool. And second, like, do we have any, I don't expect an exact percentage to the decimal point or something, but like, what percentage of landlords are registering versus are not registering at this point?
That's a good question.
I'm not going to hold you to an exact, but like, just ballpark.
It's so hard because there are so many properties. We typically don't find those until we get a complaint or something from a tenant. I would say you're looking at maybe a third.
Are registered.
Mm-hmm. Based off what we looked up and the records that we had received and looked at registration forms that actually come through the property standards office as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Hancock.
And is this the same as the current registration of $10 a year that's required?
It is. It's $10 per landlord.
Short-term rental.
So you put all your properties on one form.
It seems like a racket. For 1 and 2 families, $10 is the same as.
Okay, we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the last item of business is BL 2023-1840 by O'Connell, Roden, and Withers. This approves a lease agreement between the Metropolitan Government and Little Big Properties, LLC, for use of office space located at 152nd Avenue North. Could I get a motion? All right, moved and seconded. I'm just going to go ahead and explain to everybody. This was tied to that resolution. It's the same building, even though it's got a little bit of different address, as I understand. No, sorry.
It's not the same building.
Okay,
It's just,
sorry.
it's another space that's being leased for Metropolitan offices.
Got it.
They're moving out Parkway Towers and some of the other locations. Some in, I think, Howard School or Leslie Hall. A department may be moving out of there.
Public defender moving to this location.
Okay, great. Thank you, Director Darby, thank you. All in favor, or any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. With that, the business of the Government Operations Committee is concluded. We are adjourned.
Super.